Hey, good Thursday evening, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages with you. I wanted to jump on here and chat a little bit about what's going on weather-wise. We've got a weather alert day that was up for today. We've reiterated that weather alert day for tomorrow as well because of the threat for some flash flooding like we saw today. We've had a lot of rain in some areas, picking up nearly a foot of rain, radar estimates. And there's a reason why we've had so much rain in such a short amount of time, and it has a tropical component to it. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But let's talk about tomorrow's weather alert day for your Friday. Flash flooding's possible. That's for those tropical downpours. A lot of you saw those today. They were quick hitting in some cases. In other cases, they were slow movers and dropped a whole lot of rain. That'll likely be the case again for tomorrow. So flood watch is up for most of the area through tomorrow night. 2 to 3 inch an hour rainfall rates. And now that's extraordinarily high. In fact, today, at a point in time when there was a cell over Gates County, North Carolina, the rates were 3 to 5 inches per hour. You get that kind of stuff in the deep tropics. So that's very extraordinary for this area. And that led to street flooding. So tomorrow we'll likely see that again. Drainage basins just are not equipped to handle that amount of water all at once. So it takes a little while to let that water retreat and go down. Here's a look at the last 12 hours in terms of rainfall estimates. This is radar estimates out of Wakefield. Your eye really gets drawn to that bullseye that's down along the state line, Virginia, North Carolina, into Gates County. And these are the areas that were under a flash flood warning for a good amount of time. And you can see here that radar estimates that this area of eastern Gates County picked up over a foot of rain. In fact, some of the numbers on that are pretty extraordinary here. Near Savage and Kellogg's Fork, 12.4 inches of rain. This is the past 12 hours, but most of that fell in like 3 hours worth of time. So you're looking at 3 to 4 inch an hour rainfall rates. Just outside of it, near County Line Ditch, Acorn Hill area, 11 inches of rain. So just a whole lot of rain in a short amount of time, and that's likely going to be the case again tomorrow. Even up into Virginia Beach, right near Fentress and Chesapeake and along the city line there, 264 corridor, Little Neck, Little Haven, Great Neck, 2-3 inches of rain, even close to 4 inches of rain there. So this is great for the lawns. This is great for the gardens, sure, and our deficit. We've been in a drought. A moderate drought, a flash drought over the past couple of weeks. So any rain that we're getting is good. We just don't want it all at once like we saw today. So tomorrow will likely be that again. Here's how things look currently. Radar loop over the last 2 hours, a loop there, and then this is the current image. We're kind of sprinkled with some light to moderate showers, and they're moving at a decent clip, so I'm not concerned about really any flooding issues over the next few hours. You can see most of this is moving in the same trajectory as it's been all day, from the south, lifting pretty much due north. And what we call these types of showers and downpours are training, because they're moving and developing over the same areas for a prolonged period of time, meaning that we're seeing wave after wave of heavy rain that leads to that flash flooding scenario. So if we were seeing heavier downpours here, that would certainly be of a concern. But here's a look at south side. Currently, we're seeing some downpours here along the Suffolk-Chesapeake City line, building due north into Portsmouth. Up along the peninsula, Newport News, Poquoson area, a few downpours there. Red Hill Village, Grafton, a little heavier downpour for you. But notice they're very small in nature. There's not a ton going on here. Central southern Chesapeake, central southern Suffolk, some downpours and showers for you. And down to the south, a few more developing out in North Carolina, lifting pretty much due north there as well. In terms of additional rainfall, this is through Saturday now. So this is going to be a prolonged rain event. I will tell you that since we talked on air at 5 and 6, these numbers, the latest model outputs, are a little bit lower. They do indicate the possibility that the focal point for the heaviest rain tomorrow shifts a little farther to the west and northwest, setting up closer to the I-95 corridor. So it is Friday tomorrow. Maybe you've got plans for the weekend to drive up to Richmond, drive out to Charlottesville, western part of the state. You'll be likely driving into some of those areas that could be prone for some flash flooding tomorrow. However, that's not set in stone. With this type of setup, well, we have a frontal boundary, and that's what's driving the rain threat. It's our trigger in our very robustly moist atmosphere. These waver east or west, and sometimes models have a hard time depicting where they're going to set up. And sometimes they're stationary, sometimes they're quasi-stationary, meaning they're moving somewhat, and a difference of 30 to 50 miles can have a big difference on where the corridor of the heaviest rain sets up. So take this with a grain of salt. This is our early afternoon run that's just published now. We'll have another run that comes out just before the 11 o'clock show tonight. So these numbers may be a little bit different if you want to tune in then for a little bit of an update there. But generally, we're looking at another ½ inch to an inch, maybe up to 2, 3, 4 inches. And if we get that corridor of heavy rain over our area again, double those numbers easily. You saw what we picked up today in some spots, over 6 inches to as much as a foot. So it could certainly happen with the kind of environment we're in. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Flood watch is up everywhere in green. It is all of us with the exclusion of Accomack County. Why is Accomack County left out? It's still going to likely rain there, just they're not likely going to be as prone for any flash flooding in that particular area. That's also a part of our region that is still under moderate drought conditions. So any rain that they get will be highly beneficial. Not to say it's not beneficial here, but a little more beneficial up there. But flood watch up through tomorrow evening. There's even the potential it gets spread over into Saturday, too, as I don't see this overall pattern breaking down. So here's the setup. Here are the players on the field, okay? High pressure, Bermuda high, strengthening and expanding to our east offshore. Typically, when we get a front coming on in, by the way, this front was originally connected to the remnants of Beryl. We weren't getting directly hit by any of the remnants, but it was the frontal feature attached to Beryl as it moved up into the Great Lakes. That's been pushing east. Typically, when we do see a frontal system come in from the northwest, it's pretty progressive. It comes in, it's gone. However, with that strengthening area of high pressure, the Bermuda high sitting offshore, this front really has nowhere to go. So it's blocked from exiting the eastern seaboard. It's been building in, slowing down, and then eventually stalling. So today it was hung across the area as a stationary boundary. It's in the process of lifting back to the northwest a little bit towards the I-95 corridor as a warm front because it's running into that area of high pressure as that high pressure is expanding and pushing farther to the west. So it's kind of giving it a nudge back inland away from our area. That will focus the heaviest rain along that front. But watch what happens here as we get into tomorrow afternoon and evening. It begins to waver back and eventually becomes a stationary boundary pretty much right along this eastern seaboard, right through Hampton Roads, right through northeastern North Carolina. And that will be the focal point for some heavy downpours, tropical squalls, if you will. And then we fast forward through the day on Saturday, more of the same, but the frontal feature begins to become washed out. It won't have as much energy or as much lift with it to force that warm, humid air that we've been talking about for days now. That's not going anywhere, by the way, but it's forcing that to rise and condense into these heavy tropical downpours. That will wash out Saturday night. And look at Sunday. Trying to pick something to do outside this weekend, I think Sunday is going to be the day you want to do that. Saturday looks a little bit wishy-washy. Sunday looks to be a little bit drier, especially in the afternoon hours as we get a little bit of a push of some drier conditions. Now let's talk about why these downpours have been so prevalent and why they've packed such a punch in terms of significant rainfall rates, 3 to 5 inch rainfall rates, which I've never seen something like that around this area. It's because of the PWATs. What is that? What is PWATs? Well, it's precipitable water values. And what that is a simple way to kind of explain it is if we take a column of air from the surface up to the cloud base and condense it, compress it, and wring out all the moisture like a wet sponge, how much moisture wring out is that measurement? So the areas that you're seeing there in the bright orange are precipitable water values that are like 2.5 inches. So that's when we compress that entire air column down, we get 2.5 inches of water vapor out of that. And that is basically 2.5 inches of water that's available to become rainfall. And when you get something to trigger that precipitation, the frontal feature, it wrings out the atmosphere. And we get those tropical downpours, those extreme rainfall rates. So that's the atmosphere that's in place now. That's the atmosphere that'll be in place tomorrow and into Saturday as well. So that heavy rain threat persists for a couple days. It should push out of here into Sunday, though. On top of that, we've got that boundary that's dipping on through the eastern seaboard. And for a little while, the National Hurricane Center was monitoring an area of potential development right off the southeast coastline. And it's right now, it's a feature. It's an area of low pressure, just very disorganized. You can kind of see it with the cloud imagery there. But the latest update here at 8 o'clock shows that there's 0% chance of this obtaining tropical characteristics and being a threat. The thought process was there was a low possibility of this trying to organize and then track along that boundary. And what that would have done is enhance our rain chances even more than what we're already seeing. But that looks to be a low threshold chance, not anymore, really. So that's good news. Just an update there for you on that. Let's talk temperatures now, because what was interesting is we fast forward here and look at the highs for today, the almanac data for today in Norfolk and Elizabeth City. We hit 82 at Norfolk today, but I want you to focus on when we hit that high. 6:46 in the morning, it was 82 degrees. That's the warmest it was all day, because then the rain kicked in. Rain cools down the air with evaporative cooling, and we stayed pretty much in the mid-70s all day. Now, you hear that number and you say, that's great. We've been in the 90s. It's been disgusting out, uncomfortable. But air temperatures in the 70s were quickly paired with dew points right behind. So it was very muggy out there regardless. Check out Elizabeth City, though. It was a different feature there because of that, where that boundary was set up as well, right? So Elizabeth City got to 91 today, but that didn't occur until just ahead of 1 o'clock this afternoon. So huge differences just over our area today. Here's current readings. Mid-70s, 76 at Norfolk, and that's pretty much where we've been for the last couple of hours. You don't get into the 80s until you get back towards Richmond and down in the south into Hertford. So it is a very mild evening out there. Now, with the front maybe pushing out of here by Sunday afternoon and washing out, is it going to bring us like any break from the humidity? The answer is no, unfortunately. So here's a look at dew point forecasts going through Thursday of next week, okay? There's not any big jumps at all or decreases. We would love to see it go down in the 50s to be comfortable again. That's not happening, at least in the next 7 days or so. We've got the dew points staying in the 70s, which when you pair that with air temperatures that are forecast by early next week to once again climb into the mid to upper 90s, we're looking at more weather alert days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for the extreme heat humidity. So here's the forecast tonight. Down to 76. A few showers or thunderstorms are possible. The overall pattern we're in is going to stay, and that will drive likely some more showers. It'll be muggy and warm otherwise. Tomorrow, another weather alert day, as we talked about, up to 87. We may not get there, though, depending on where the corridor of the heaviest rain is. If it sits over Norfolk, over the airport, it's going to keep things much, much cooler than that. So 87 is being very liberal with the temperatures tomorrow. Flooding is possible. Flash flooding is possible because we get those downpours, overwhelms the drainage basins. And maybe a few rumbles of thunder in there, although our threat for severe weather is very, very low. And then the weekend. Okay, here's a look. 88 on Saturday. We're at 70% chance of rain, so definitely a wetter half of the first half of the weekend. 88 degrees. And then Sunday, we'll start to see temperatures shoot back up in the 90s. Rain chances are still there, likely confined to the morning hours, and then some sunshine and better weather for the afternoon. So 92, but that kicks off another period of very hot weather. Here's our temperature trend. 96 on Monday, 97 Tuesday, 96 on Wednesday. Very, very hot temperatures here. We haven't hit 100 yet this year. We've hit 99 twice. And by the way, we haven't hit 100 at Norfolk since 2020. It's been a while. We had 2 occurrences this year. We were so close, but we just never got there. And also this time of the year, average high is 90. So 96, 97, certainly above normal, but it's not like extraordinarily high, nor are these numbers forecast to be record-breaking. This time of the year, those records are in the low triple digits. So at least right now, that looks safe. Also with the humidity, when you get dew points climbing in the mid to upper 70s and air temperatures that high, drier air more efficiently heats up. And if we had dew points that, say, mixed out into the 60s in the afternoon, we would likely get a bump that would push us to 100. But when you have dew points that stay very high for the duration of the hottest period of the day, it's hard to really push temperatures that much higher. So we're looking at some mid to upper 90s for those days. A lot of red in the 7-day forecast, I'll tell you that. A weather alert day tomorrow. We get a little bit of a break Saturday and Sunday. However, I'm toying with the idea of a weather alert day for Saturday, too, because the threat for heavy rain is still there on Saturday and the flash flooding risk as well. Sunday looks to be a safe day. It'll still be warm, still be muggy, 92. And then the heat and humidity returns excessively hot Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll be back to seeing those heat index values climbing up to 110 or higher than that. We've had a couple days already this summer that we've seen it feel like 112 to 115 with those high humidity values. And until we bring those dew points down, it's really Going to be a common occurrence as long as temperatures stay that warm. So that's the latest on the forecast for you. Weather alert day again tomorrow. We'll watch the radar all day for those heavy downpours and the threat for some flash flooding. We had several flash flood warnings throughout the day today in certain areas. We'll likely have a few more tomorrow, maybe setting up a little farther to the west. And then we'll focus our attention on next week's heat and humidity. Until then, I hope you join us on 13 News Now at 11, coming up after the ESPYs that are currently live on ABC. And we'll see you then. Have a good night.